BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey, I'm Sam. I'm your Thursday guy for BodyBags, and this week I am doing Late Night with the Devil. Now, I wish that was the movie. It's just the trailer. I had to find a good picture for, the movie. And, I really liked it. Some might say, how? Others might say, what? I would say I really liked it. And a lot of people were like, about the movie, about the movie, we're like, about the movie, because it's like Late Night with the Devil. I'll tell you about it, I'll tell you why I like it, but some context, of course, because it's my favorite thing ever. Context matters very much for everything. Here's my context. So, the production of Late Night with the Devil was announced on February 2022. And I don't remember the first time I saw a trailer for this movie, but I do remember that the first time I did watch the trailer, I was already hooked. I was already like, I gotta watch it, because I am a sucker for grainy trailers. That's why when Skinamarink came out, I was like, I gotta watch it, because it's all grainy, and the voice that you hear is like, in this house. And so in the trailer, it's like a guy that's like, this is the episode that never aired, but only aired now, kind of thing. And I'm sorry, I just love that stuff so much. So I saw the trailer, and I was like, that looks good. I think it's going to be pretty good. And I think I know how the movie's going to go. And the movie went basically about how I thought it was going to go. I liked it. I'll tell you why. Well, I'll tell you why. But there is a big problem, like a huge problem about the movie, that's going to downgrade it a point or two for me, because it's like, I can't believe you crossed that line. I get it. If you're a super indie movie, you don't really have that many resources, but you're going to use AI? I don't know. But let me tell you about the movie first. So, there's this guy. His name is, because I always get it wrong, his name is Jack Delroy. And he's a late night host, and he's trying to be the biggest one out there. But, problem is, he's starting to kind of fall off, no one's really caring that much about him, and, whatnot. Then his wife dies, and he's just super depressed and whatnot, but, here's this episode he's got to do. It's quite the make or break for his late night show, because if it does not hit, if it doesn't do any good, he's gone. He's out of a job, and he's gonna have to find a new podcast to start, or whatever. And so, it's Halloween night, and he invites 3 people, technically 4, but 3 people. He invites a psychic who can talk to the dead, but his time there is very short-lived. He brings on a skeptic who does not believe anything, actually is very rude the entire time, and perhaps that's just how it's meant to be, but, hated him so much. I wanted to slap him, even though parts of me were thinking he was right, but other parts were like, I think there's something going on here, mister. And then the third person was a doctor who brought her patient who's possessed by the devil. And, of course, it's Halloween night, it's a Halloween special, and, it's, very scary. And as the night continues onward, more and more weird stuff starts happening, to the point where the very end of the show is when, all hell breaks loose, right? Now, I don't think I have a budget here. Yeah, I don't have a budget here. It's really, well, there's no budget here? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's a budget, because I didn't look this up beforehand, but I'm sure it's it was very small. I don't see it. This is kind of sad. I got the box office. I'm sure it's a little different than that. Well, actually, no, it's not different than that. Never mind. Sorry. Anyway, very indie. Tell you about wow. Tell you a little bit about that. So, before the movie started, right, it shows all the companies that help make the movie and whatnot. So, you know, usually for like a Universal movie, it's like Universal and Brother Bros and like one other company, and then the movie starts. But this one, it was like 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. It was a lot of companies. It was like, come on, let's start the movie already. But like by the time it was the last one, I was like, yeah, this is very indie. So it's pretty cool that you had like all these companies come together to make this thing. So let me tell you right now these companies: Image Nation, Abu Dhabi, Vicscreen, AGC Studios, Good Fiend Films, Future Pictures, and Spooky Pictures, and then distributed by IFC Films, Shudder, Umbrella Entertainment, Maslow Entertainment, Films Australia, blah blah blah. There's some music in the movie, but it's not like your typical horror movie music because, well, the fact is how the movie is structured, and which I really liked how the movie was structured. It's very different, maybe not very different, but I mean, like, I really liked it, and let me tell you how it's structured. It's basically, you take a late night show. If you took a episode of The Tonight Show, and then every time they went on break, you see the transition between the breaks, in the breaks, right? So it's like 3-4 minute breaks or whatever, and you see like what they're doing behind the scenes, getting ready for the next shot, the next set piece or whatever, right? And I really liked how they did that. I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked that because it's like when you're watching the episode, right? It's the grainy, right? It looks like you're watching an old 70s late night show, right? And then the breaks are all black and white because, you know, there's the huge difference between the grainy, which is like the episode in question, and then the black and white, which is like what was happening in between the breaks. You get the point. I guess my big complaint about the movie, AI. They used AI in the movie, and it was like 3 pictures. And I guess my only real problem with that is that, AI is starting to create certain things and whatnot, and sometimes it's cool seeing it just because, you know, what the people behind it that are, like, using AI to make. But it's just that if we get to a point where AI is self-conscious and, you know, or something such, and it's creating the films and whatnot out there, what's the point of us being creative? What's the point of, like, us trying to, like, make things? If AI can do it for us, we just have to sit down, relax, and just watch what Disney made, right? And then the fact is, that's kind of what's going on right now anyway. I mean, what was the last really good Disney movie that came out, right? Like, you look at Disney movies back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the cartoons at least, very nice. Loved falling asleep to some of the cartoons, right? Like Hercules, Beauty and the Beast, blah, blah, blah. I just loved falling asleep to them when I was younger. But, like, now it's like, Wish, like, that's like pro-communist. Like, no! What are you doing? It's like, come on. It just really kind of sucks. It's really sad, I think. But, I mean, what's the difference between AI and Disney making stuff? AI made actually pretty cool, but it's like, but the problem then becomes, like, who programs the AI to make it, right? Might look better, might seem better, but overall, is it really better? Probably not. But anyway, let's get back to the movie, because this is the whole reason you're here. You're here for the movie. The overwhelming theme of the movie, a bit of foreshadowing, I suppose, too, in the beginning. If you want the world, are you willing to trade everything? Or what's most important to you, kind of thing? So, storyline-wise, he's like, Jack Delroy, he's like this big thing, and he's like always second, and it's like he's trying to be number one, right? And his wife, you know, dies, yes, cancer or whatever, right? She dies. Very tragic, very sad. And so when she dies, it's like, I'm so sorry. Kind of like, they're off, right? They're done for a bit. But then Halloween night comes about, and he's like, you know, this is the make or break, right? Let's see if we're able to stay around, and it's got to be the biggest thing ever, so that's why they bring those 3 people in to make it the biggest thing ever. And it ends up being the biggest thing ever, but is it really what he wants? Because there's an element of it that's very much like Faust, and it probably is a lot closer to Faust than people think. That being there's a guy, he wants to be rich, he wants to be famous, he wants to be the king of the world kind of thing, and he ends up trading his soul, giving his soul with the devil, right? He makes a deal with the devil. And he gets those things, but with a very heavy cost. The price to pay, right? Is it still worth it? In which case, most of the time, no, it's not. But people don't care until it ends up happening, and then they care, of course, but it's too late. And that's kind of like the idea. Sometimes things are just too late, and that's sad, right? People make mistakes all the time. Some more and some bigger than others. But it's sad, I suppose, right? To be honest, this is my second attempt at making this video, mainly because I went in a direction. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back or not, but there's some more information about the movie I wanted to talk about and whatnot, to be more specific and such about. For instance, the actor that plays Jack Delroy, the main character, that's David Dastmalchian. You know the face. He's in a lot of he's in a lot of big stuff, but he usually tends to be the third or the fourth string actor, right? He's always that background character that you see for a scene or two, or, whatever, right? But as the years have gone on, he's kind of had bigger roles, to the point where now he is the guy, number one guy. Boom! Love it. Because he's just one of those actors that I love seeing in movies, because it's like, it's so cool seeing him in a movie. He's in that list for me, right? But the topic I was talking about in the earlier part that I'm coming back now, not earlier part of this, but, the last take, was that, everyone's a slave to something. Whether you want to be or not. You are a slave to something. You're giving your time, your energy, everything, right? You're all to something. I guess the question is that specific thing good or bad, or maybe not necessarily good or not necessarily bad, but it's like overall grand scheme, big picture, is it worth it? So there's a lot of people that sit around, play video games all day, in which I must admit I do play games quite often, and especially this week, because I was on vacation this week. The idea of sitting in front of my TV, just wasting it all away, it's like, it's cool, but, like, there are better things to do. There are bigger things to do. So is doing that worth it? In which case, I would say, short term, yeah, but long term, no. And that goes back to my point of you're a slave to something. I try not to be a slave to the machine, right? But it's like, it's very difficult at times. Because it's like, it's so cool, it's so X, it's so Y, it's so Z. It's just, it's so difficult to, say no to certain things, but it's like you gotta say no sometime. But back to the point, slave, right? There's a line from the song, and I don't remember the song. I want to say it was some old 70s band, like Pink Floyd, or like some guy from the beat, like Paul McCartney kind of guy, right? Someone back then, some song, and there was a lyric that was like, whether or not you didn't make a choice, you still made a choice, or something like that. And that being, when it comes to religion, right, whether you believe a religion or not, the most likely scenario with each endgame of a religion is that you gotta make a choice sometime. You gotta make a choice someday. And when you make that choice did you make the right choice, right? And it's like, you might not choose, but you not choosing is still you making a choice one way or another, right? And so in this movie, he wants the world, he wants the fame, the fortune, he wants to be the next big thing. And see, I think that's what I really like about this movie. They use a lot of things from the 70s, a lot of topics from the 70s, a lot of things like the idea of I think it was Bohemian Grove. No, it's called The Grove, but I think in real life, if this was an actual place, it was called Bohemian Grove or something like that, where basically a lot of rich, wealthy people went there to kind of, well, it was a kind of club, but was it really? There's a lot of question marks around it, whether or not it was an actual good place. And for this movie, it uses that place as more of a, and maybe it is if it, is real, right? Say it's real and this is a possibility. Satanic a bit. This place. Which would make sense, from your certain point of view. That being, he's trying to make a deal with the devil to a point. And it's funny how the movie goes about. He's like in the episode, as the episode, he's always telling the TV, like, we try to be open-minded here, but, when you see him, you kind of realize that he's not really open-minded. He doesn't really think that's a real thing. And if he does think, he's like, there's some explanation behind that makes sense, right? He doesn't want to take the fact, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to go fast. He doesn't want to take into account that maybe there is something more to this, that maybe there is some supernatural element to this that he doesn't want to go about, because if it is true, then he would know that, well, something bad's probably going to happen, right? In which case, technically, yes, the big idea of the movie is that he wants to be famous, right? He wants to be the big thing. He wants everyone to know about him, and, well, how the movie ends, everyone does know about him, and I'm not spoiling it. I think, if it's still playing in those theaters, I think you should go watch it. Now, maybe during the daytime, so that when you are all said and done with the movie, and if you are like me, being super deep in thought about the movie, you probably don't want it to be at night, because then you might get a little more spooked. For me, for example, if I go and watch a horror movie and I think deeply about that movie and it's nighttime afterward or something, I'm gonna get spooked. I'm gonna hold my cross and be like, right? I'm just, get scared. And that's like, I think, the best way, at least for me anyway, because everyone's different. For me, the only real way I get scared watching a horror movie is if I put myself in the shoes of the people there. If the movie itself seems real, then it's like, yeah, this is pretty scary. But that's kind of about it, other than jump scares, right? Everyone jumps at jump scares. But, anyway, this is a really long episode, right? I didn't really think this was gonna be that long, but I talked a lot about stuff, and maybe I was yapping about, but hey, right? I like the longer ones because, the longer ones mean there's more time that I have to spend in it. And then, if you spend your 18 to 20 minutes, however long this ends up being, that you care too, and you want to maybe go watch the movie. And I would say from the bottom of my heart that everyone should watch this movie. Because I think it's really important to know that, like, you might want things. You might want to choose certain things, but you need to think very deeply and take in all the possibilities around you of what the consequences could be. Because every choice comes with a consequence, and that consequence doesn't need to be necessarily bad or good, but it's just what happens after you choose something. So, for example, if you go and make a deal with the devil, there's probably going to be some really bad consequences. But, if you get rich and famous, then, it's all fine. Totally fine. You're totally fine. It's not like you're going to go some fiery place later on or whatever. But anyway, I'm Sam. I'm the Thursday guy for BodyBags. I did Late Night with the Devil, and I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I would give it an 8 or like an 8 out of 5 out of 10, but my big gripe against the movie is that it used AI, and I think if people use AI, then we're just gonna be in a really bad spot 5 years from now. But I suppose we're already in a really bad spot anyway. Why not make it worse? I hate it. But anyway, I say go check it out. The lesson, the moral of the story makes it worth it 10 times. But I'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.